Hi folks, Syrinx Mound here. I am creating a Civilization 5 video YouTube series for the purposes of trying to not just improve my own play, but to hopefully help improve everyone else's. I'm not a seasoned veteran Diety level player. What I consider a very average player. And I've just wanted to make a series for those who wanted to step their game up a little bit from the standard sort of Prince difficulty, higher up into the King Emperor sort of Immortal region, where, in my opinion, I don't think there's a huge difference. Deity is there's a massive difference from Immortal to Deity, but I think from Prince to King to Emperor to Immortal, there's not huge changes. So with that in mind, I think it's important for people who are watching this to know whether they're going to enjoy it or not, and how it's going to work, and whether you just want to close the video now. So if you are very new to the game, this may be of some use, but maybe too complicated for you. Likewise, if you play Deity all the time, I doubt that there'll be much that you'll take away from this series, although I could be wrong. So it's more aimed at people who have been playing on Prince or maybe King and are looking at pushing themselves up a bit. So it's very the mid-range sort of skill players. I've watched a lot of videos on the internet for Deity and stuff, and I've been doing a little bit of research, which just inspired me to play again. Probably coupled with the fact that Civ 6 is just around the corner, which is quite exciting. So yeah, basically I want these videos to be an open forum, so I want to put these videos up and I want people to discuss and talk and chat, and so we all learn from each other. So I will read the comments and comment on them. If people say, oh, why did you do this, or why didn't you do that, or have you ever considered doing this, or did you know about that, then perfect. That's the sort of thing I want. I want feedback of people, so that we can then discuss it and people can try and learn more about the game. Because I don't know every game mechanic. I don't know every Civ inside out with all their unique buildings and stuff. There's some Civs I haven't even played. So yeah, like I said, I don't consider myself a super experienced player, but I have a pretty good grasp of most of the mechanics, and I'm hoping to learn a bit more, fill in holes, correct errors that I have in my own knowledge, and then hopefully improve everybody else's play at the same time. So that's essentially what I'm aiming for. How I'm going to do that is this first video, just to let you all know I won't actually be playing. I'm just going to be talking about the game setup, different types of setups, why they're important, what I'm going to play and why. Because there's a lot of customization in this game, which I think is really great, but it can change drastically how you play the game. So when I play, I'll be playing with one set formula, which other people can try first and then branch out as you get comfortable with it. So these videos are going to be quite long, and in terms of the gameplay, I don't want this to be a let's play where people just watch me beat the AI and I just talk. It's essentially going to be not really a let's play, it's going to be slow. So if you wanting to see me just beat the AI quickly in a X number of episodes series, then you're probably better off looking for a let's play. This won't be a let's play, this will be a sort of like a tutorial / strategy guide where I'm just going to go through a particular map battle and discuss issues and concepts and mechanics and strategies throughout that particular playthrough. So obviously it's unlikely we'll get through everything in one playthrough, because so many possibilities arise and so many different things can occur. But I think to start with, I'll just go through and just talk about whatever comes to mind. I was going to split it up into chunks, like talk about, war or talk about diplomacy or whatever in a specific episode, but I don't think that's really going to work if I'm playing through. So I think I'm just going to talk about whatever comes to mind, and if people notice things during the video that I do wrong, or do badly, or I get wrong, or people suggest ways to improve, then that would be really useful to comment on, and that way I can make a note of that and then address them in the next video and say, oh, I did this but I should have done this, or so and so pointed out that this would have been a better suggestion, which is great, which is exactly what I want. So yeah, any ideas, any things that come into your head when you're watching these, please just let me know. It'd be really helpful. So I hope that just gives you all a little summary of what to expect, so then the people that are not interested or don't think this applies to them can just stop watching the video now, essentially. But those that want to improve their play a bit, up into the higher difficulties, great. So, with that in mind, I'll talk a bit about setup. So I've covered all the intro stuff. The way I'm going to play this is pretty much what you see on here. This is the way I'm going to play. I'm pretty experienced Emperor, and I've only played a few games in Immortal. I'd say I win like significantly the majority of all my Emperor games, so that's why I've decided to move myself up to Immortal. But for the purposes of this, I'll play on Emperor because I feel that Prince being the normal difficulty, Emperor isn't too far away, and King isn't. I don't really feel it's a huge step up from Prince. So I'm going to play on Emperor. With that in mind, I'll talk a little bit about the difficulties. I probably should. Most people know how the game works. There's 8 difficulties. 1 to 3 is essentially the scales are balanced in your favour. You get certain bonuses and perks, and the AI gets certain disadvantages. Prince is the scales are balanced, and then anything beyond that, the scales are tipped in favour of the AI. Particularly Deity is huge differences. Again, for those that don't know, these changes are just generally every single mechanic you can think of in the game. So your happiness, your gold, your science costs, your yields of tiles, etc. Everything is boosted for the computer. I don't know if it's by a certain percentage or by a certain figure or something like that, but basically the AI, their techs are either cheaper or they get them faster, they get more gold, they get all that sort of stuff is enhanced for them. They get less unhappiness from cities or settling new cities. They get more happiness from luxuries. They get more base happiness, more base growth, more base culture. They start off with X number of techs. So even on turn 0, you're already behind instantly in techs towards the higher ends. And on Deity, it's ridiculous. They start off with an extra settler and loads of other troops. And some players can handle that. I definitely can't. But I'm stepping my way up there. So like I said, I picked Emperor. I think it's a good balance. It's not too hard, it's not too easy. And it should be good to demonstrate what I need to demonstrate for those who are currently on Prince or King and looking at stepping up to an Emperor or Immortal. Leaders, I'll always be playing with a random civ. I prefer it that way. This does lead to the fact that I have played some civs a lot more than others, and like I've said, some civs I haven't played at all. I don't think I've played Boudica or Venice ever. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it on random, but if people desperately want to see a particular civ, I can try and play. Can't guarantee I'll win, but I can try and play. This is another thing. These videos are going to go up as I'm playing them, so there's no guarantee I'm actually going to do well or win, so you might have to bear that in mind. Some videos may just have to end early because I know that I can't win and I have to concede. So moving on to Pangaea, it will be the map type that I'm going to play. Obviously, there's additional maps and random map type. For those that don't know, continents, just 2 different land masses. Pangaea, 1 big landmass, Archipelago, loads of little land masses, and Fractal. It's sort of like I consider it a cross between a Pangaea and an Archipelago. It's, loads of little land masses, but they're generally connected. Not my favourite map type. And I'm going to pick Pangaea because, for a few reasons. I think it's the easiest, and I'll tell you why. One of the biggest issues with the AI in higher difficulties is the fact that they can do what people call snowballing, where they get very powerful early on. They might conquer another faction early on, or they may just get ahead in tech for whatever reason, or they may have an ability which lets them get ahead in tech. And that player then basically destroys an AI, consumes them, and then consumes another one, and consumes another one, and consumes another one. And they just become out of control and really hard to beat because they're so advanced from yourself. And when the AI already at an advantage by a certain number of techs, then that can be really hard to manage. Now, on a Pangaea, it's much easier to manage because you have direct access to that AI that you can see is getting out of control. But if it's a continent and you're not on the continent with the snowballing AI, by the time you've got the techs to sail across and you've got a strong enough military, it could be too late, and it can be really hard to to chip down an AI that's got really out of hand, especially if they've dominated the entire continent. They will just become massively more powerful. Similar for Archipelago. Pelago. I always struggle saying that word. If you're on an island miles away from the snowballing civ, it can be really tricky. Although you can do more about it, because obviously Navy is much easier to come by. So yeah, I'm going to play in Pangaea for that reason. There's other reasons I'm going to play Pangaea, but because it's easy to meet city-states, it's easy to find other AIs. And that's essentially what I'm going to do. Map size. I don't generally play the first 3. I feel they're more for specialised battles if you want to trial out a civ, or if you want to abuse a civ's particular power, or give yourself a challenge or something. They may be for you. I don't particularly like them. I think there's not enough diversity, not enough different civs, and I just find it's boring and too quick. Standard and large are the 2 maps I normally play. 8 players and 10 players. They're pretty good. Huge is just maybe a touch too much, because again with the snowballing thing, if one AI is on the other side of the continent to you, it can be almost impossible to fight through loads of other ones to get to the one you want to stop. Excuse me. And so that can just be tricky sometimes, and it can really drag on. Standard for me is probably my favourite. We've discussed difficulty. So game pace, again, it's pretty self-explanatory really. The game just scales in terms of costs of things, which basically comes down to how many turns does it take to either get the next culture policy, or research a tech, or build the next military unit. That's essentially all this is. I stick on standard. Quick is too fast. I don't get to fully enjoy each research era for long enough. I don't find in specific units. I'm always trying to upgrade to the next unit and get to the next tech era before really enjoying it. Epic and marathon. Well, they're, like I've said, they're just longer for each one. Epic can be fun, but I prefer standard. Advanced setup now, so I don't change much really. You have all the things I've already spoken about. Game era is just what technological era will you start in. World, age, temperature and rainfall just affect the tile types that are on the map. Sea level, again, it's kind of self-explanatory. How much water will there be? And how much of that will be deep water. Resources, now I always personally play on strategic balance. So the resources that are on the map, obviously less to more. But strategic balance only affects strategic resources, and it ensures that every player's capital city has a set number of strategic resources of all types. So it's more fair, because there's nothing more frustrating than not having, iron, and you have to use crappy pikemen, or not having oil, and you can't use your planes. It can be really crippling. So I find that that's more balanced, especially if you're playing the AI where they've already got advantages, or in some cases huge advantages. I try and strip away any further advantages I can give them, because that's just luck. That's just a frustrating luck if I have or don't have a particular resource. It's not like I played badly or the AI played well. It's just bad luck. I don't like that. Other game options. I sometimes disable. Where is it? Ancient Ruins for the same reason, because it can be potluck whether you've got some near you and what you get. And again, if you're already at a disadvantage, why give the AI an extra tech when they've already got 4 or 5 ahead of you at the beginning? So, but I like to leave them on, because they do actually benefit me as well as benefiting the AI quite significantly sometimes if you're quick at getting your scouts out. So yeah, that's the game setup. That's what I'll be playing. This is what I'm hoping to achieve. So I'm going to see which civilization I get, and then we'll basically take it from there, probably in the next video. Like I've said, I warn you all, these videos are going to be slow and they're going to be long, and in terms of the progression within the game, it'll probably be slow. There'll be a lot of waiting around me talking about things, at least during the early stages of the game, where there is a hell of a lot to talk about, a lot to address, and a lot of things that can change. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this sort of introductory episode. If people don't really seem interested in it, then that's absolutely fine. I'll just leave it. This is just a bit of fun, like a little experiment for me, just to see if there's people out there that are interested. If not, I'll just kick it in the head. It's not a big deal for me. But yeah, so if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, or if there's anything that I didn't cover or you want me to cover, or if there's a specific Civ you want me to play, just let me know. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.